I don't know if Mitch McConnell will appreciate this next guest, but she has captured the Democratic Party's imagination because she came oh so close last go-around, taking down the Republicans for a crucial Kentucky House seat. And now they're betting on her to topple Mitch McConnell and become the first Democratic senator in the state of Kentucky, dating back, I think, to 1992. She's a former fighter pilot. Amy McGrath joining us right now. We did reach out to Senator Mitch McConnell, and though unavailable today, his office is telling us they hope to talk to us soon. Ms. McGrath, very good to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, good to be here.
You're up against a giant. How do you plan to take him on?
Well, as a Marine, I'm no stranger to challenges, and this is going to be one of them. You know, I look at, if you look at Kentucky, it's a very red state. It's a very pro-Trump state. But one of the reasons why Kentucky voted for Donald Trump is to drain the swamp and to do things like bring back jobs, to bring down prescription drug prices, to do big things like infrastructure. And all along the way, if you look at why he hasn't been able to get those things done, you got to look at Senator McConnell. He stops him along the way, and I think that's my message. You know, if you want to get these things done that Kentucky really needs, we have to elect people who care and want to get these things done.
All right. Others have had the same goal you've had for better than, what, 3 decades now and failed. Where do you think you'll succeed?
Well, you know, I never set out to be a career politician. I served my country. All I wanted to do when I was a kid was fly fighter jets and be a Marine and serve. And along the way, I met my husband, and we had 3 kids. And my husband, who's a registered Republican, we've looked at each other in the last few years and have said, hey, our country is not in a great place. We need better leaders. And I think a lot of Kentuckians feel the same way. They are tired of the same leadership. They're tired of the dysfunction in Washington. We have a state where, you know, our signature industries of tobacco and coal have been in decline for decades. And Mitch McConnell hasn't really done anything about that. We have a state with the lowest wages, some of the lowest wages in the country, an opioid crisis, which is 2 times the national rate in terms of overdose deaths. We've had the highest cancer rates, and all along we've had a senator who really cares more about special interests and corporations and doesn't really care about these issues. And I think that's the big thing that people are seeing, and that's what's going to be different this time.
You know, you have no problem raising money in your last go-round, more than $8 million. That's unprecedented in a race, especially in a state dominated by Republicans. And they're very hopeful that you can do that again. But it is an uphill battle, and I wonder if it comes at a time when the Democratic Party itself, with all these candidates running for president, doesn't know what it wants to be. Where are you in this debate between, I guess, the far left and Nancy Pelosi fighting with some of these congresswomen like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others who she says, you know, don't represent the party? Where do you stand on that?
Well, you know, the internal debates of the National Democratic Party have never been something I really cared about, frankly. You know, I'm somebody that, again, just wanted to serve my country. And frankly, I've never been a very partisan person. I was an independent for 12 years. And as a military officer, that was very important to me. And I think the focus needs to be on Kentucky. And so for me, I'm not very concerned about the internal battles within the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but if you're elected senator, you're going to have to be, right? I mean, for example, on the tax cuts that Mitch McConnell championed, would you work to remove them?
Well, you know, I think it's important to note that the only major piece of legislation that Senator McConnell was able to do when he had all the power was this tax windfall for corporations and wealthiest 1%. And the problem that I had with the tax cuts was not that I'm for tax cuts or against tax cuts for the middle class. I'm not. You know, I didn't marry a millionaire. I married a Navy man. So everybody wants low taxes. The problem that I had was, you know, his priority was always corporations. Your priority should have been the people of Kentucky, and he should have made the middle class tax cuts permanent. And he didn't do that. All right,
so. but again, to be fair, and again, you can argue the size and scope of the tax cuts, but about 80% of Americans did get them. And I don't know how that percentage breaks down in Kentucky, but would you tell residents in Kentucky, I'm going to scrap all of those and start fresh?
No, I wouldn't tell them I would scrap them all. I would fix it. I would give tax cuts to the middle class. I would give I would give tax cuts to the middle class and working class in particular. I think that's really important.
And
that's
take away the
start.
ones for the rich and the corporate tax cut that was cut to 21%, you'd shelve that?
I think that's something we should look at. I mean, look, those tax cuts that Mitch McConnell championed, you have to remember, they almost doubled our deficit. They increased our debt by $2 trillion. I don't think that's very
You're new to
responsible.
this. You're new to politics, and I commend you for saying that, but Democrats had a hand in increasing the debt before this president and the Republican president before that president and the Democratic president before that president. The debt has exponentially gone way out of control. Would you make it a central part of your duty, if you become a United States Senator, to address the debt?
I think we absolutely have to address the debt. It's something that's very important to me. I am also very concerned about it. You know, guys like Mitch McConnell and Senator McConnell have said that they are concerned about the debt, and then when they get in power, what do? They increase it. I think it's a problem.
Well, they all do that, right? Democrats, Republicans alike, they all do that. So how would you stop it?
Well, I think you stop it by getting people elected who are honest with the American people about our debt. And we have to pay for the goods and services we want government to provide. I think that's very important.
All right, but Barack Obama was sincere, I take it, at face value, in trying to deal with the debt. He couldn't deal with it. George Bush, before him, equally sincere, and no one seems to get a handle on it. Is it so important to you that you might scale back some spending to deal with it?
Well, I would tell you this, that, you know, we were on a path to decrease our deficit in the last few years of the last administration, and we were on that path. And then Senator Mitch McConnell came in with this tax windfall, and we now almost doubled it. So that's not
I don't know
the right
if we were
thing
on a
to do.
path. We were certainly
in
in the years of Bill Clinton. You're quite right about that. I don't know if we were on a path there, but you would go ahead and address entitlements as well to deal with that as you're cutting tax cuts that were in trail now?
I think what we need to do is get people in office who want to look at a range of things and come together as Republicans and Democrats and look at our debt and how we address it. I think that we started to try to do that with things like the Bowles-Simpson plan and the Rivlin-Domenici plan. And, you know, that was thrown away. Why was it thrown away? Because we had people that just didn't want to go that. We had the Tea Party, for example, that went that held up our national debt and said that you know, that they were going to basically hold it hostage.
Well, it wasn't just the Tea Party. I mean, everyone had a hand in this. I guess what I'm asking you, and also as someone who has served in the military in this country very honorably, would you be open to paring defense spending?
You know, here's what I would say about defense. As somebody who's served in 3 combat tours as a Marine, I don't think we can pare defense spending until we stop the wars that we're in. You know, it's very important to me to make sure that we have body armor for our Marines going forward. And so I don't think we can think about that right now until, you know, we scale back. And that's why I'm for things like, you know, an authorization to use military force. That's why that's such a big, important thing for me.
Understood. Amy McGrath, thank you for taking the time. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be here.